Hey friends, this is Pam. So today I am working on a fall project. It's kind of funny, this in-between seasons moment here. I spent the weekend enjoying the December daily prep party with Allie Edwards, but I am in no way ready to wrap up with my fall documentation yet. In fact, I feel like I still have quite a bit more to do. So today I am really excited to be using the Paper Person Shop kits, and unfortunately the kits that I'm working with today are already sold out in the shop. But part of my plan in the spreads that I'm creating here today is to incorporate the digital elements, and those are definitely still available in the shop. So if you have these kits already, awesome. I'm very happy to share some inspiration with you about how I used them. If you don't have these kits, then I would strongly encourage you to go and check out the digital items that are still available. So here is the main kit for October. So the Paper Person Shop is a relaunch of Kelly Perky Designs, and it's awesome. She is planning to incorporate designs from a lot of other designers as well in her upcoming kits, but here's what you can expect if you are subscribing to one of these monthly kits. In each kit you're going to get 2 sticker sheets. There's an alpha sticker plus a 6x12 sheet of stickers that already have the outside taken away. These are nice thick quality cardstock stickers, and there will be a coordinating sticker set with every kit. There is also a stamp set that's included with the kit, and they're very much on trend with things that are going on in the world right now. This is an awesome set about doing a lot of things from home for the fall, and definitely relevant to what is going on in our world right now. And then in addition to that, there are a couple of 12x12 cut apart sheets that include journaling cards. The journaling cards are sized to be 3x4 and 4x6, and then on the back of each of these sets is coordinating patterns. So that makes these kits really versatile, whether you're a pocket page scrapper or a traveler's notebook scrapper, or if you want to do something completely different, or if you're even doing 12x12 layouts. There's an option here for everyone. So that is a really cool feature of these kits. The other thing that's included here is a couple of coordinating patterned papers, and these come from the ones that were included in this kit. Let's see, it looks like we've got one from Crate Paper, one from Maggie Holmes' most recent release, and then there's also one here, I believe it's from Pebbles. It's another American Crafts design that's available there. The colors here coordinate with the elements of the cards as well as the stickers, and just lots of fun here. So these monthly kits are available by subscription only. When you subscribe to the monthly kit, you're also going to get access to the digital elements that coordinate with these kits. So that includes all of the digital stamps as well as the designs for the cut apart 3x4 and 4x6 cards. If you have the digital elements, there's so much versatility there to get way more mileage out of your kit, and I'm going to show you how I did that this month. So in addition to the subscription, each month there is a selection of add-on kits and add-on elements that will also be available in the shop, and this is an example of the fall-themed Traveler's Notebook kit. So this kit includes multiples of the Traveler's Notebook sized pages, which I believe are 4.25 inches by 8.25 inches high, and each of these papers is double-sided, so you'll find basically 2 copies of each design within your kit here. And that one I missed. So those papers are also available as a digital item in the shop. If you missed out on this kit, you can definitely still pick up the Traveler's Notebook papers in the shop, and I've used those in my project that I'm about to do here too. In addition to the papers, there's also 2 sets of label stickers, a really cute fall stamp set, and then a selection of these die-cut leaves that are going to be a really fun addition to my project. Another fall item that is in the shop and is still currently available, and not necessarily just for fall, is this really cute little outdoors stamp set. And I am definitely going to be using some of these on the project that I'm working on next. Back in October, we did a fun family day at a farm just to do some of the fall activities that we try to get in and do every year. And I have a whole ton of pictures from that day. Got a bunch of 3x4s already prepared. I also did a couple of Instax pictures, which I thought would just be a fun bit of variety for a different look within my album. And then I enlarged a couple of them as well. So I've got a 6x8 full page photo there. And then this guy is like a double pager. I'm going to try to get it to go all the way across the spread. Now, I mentioned already that I am planning to use the digital elements here to really get more mileage out of my kit. So we're going to head over to my computer now, and I will show you what I have in mind there.
I am totally a hybrid scrapbooker for a couple of different reasons. Number one, I love having the ability to reprint elements if I mess something up. It takes away the fear of making mistakes a little bit so that if I screw something up, it's not a big deal. I just reprint it, do it over again. Love that part. And I think in a way that makes me more brave to be creative with my products as well when I'm working on different projects. The other thing I love is the ability to resize and redesign them to an extent. Like, I really want to maintain the original integrity of the design work. That's why the digital products at Paper Person Shop are all already awesome. They're awesome exactly the way they are. But I want to be able to resize things and really focus on some of the cool details and turn them into extra elements. Number three, I love being able to get more mileage out of my kit. So when I have coordinating digital elements to go along with my paper products, I just feel like I can make so much more. I get a lot of bang for my buck there, really is kind of what I'm getting at. So let's take a look at some of the techniques that I used with this month's digitals. First of all, I have a 3x4 card here from the October monthly kit, just with a fun fall sentiment saying it's fall, y'all. And when you buy the physical kit, this is a 3x4 card. In the digital products, you can make this any size that you want it to be. And I actually want to make this like a full page quote or just some fun art in my 6x8 album. So I have the 3x4 card already open here in my Photoshop Elements workspace. I am using Photoshop Elements 2020. And the first thing I'm going to do is create a new canvas to be the size of the page that I want it to be. So I'm going to make this like the full size of the page protector. So I'm going to make it a 6.75 inch wide canvas and an 8.25 inch tall. And I want it to be 300 pixels per inch, and I'm going to work with a white background here. So that looks like what I need it to be. I'm going to use the Select tool from the toolbar over on the left-hand side, and I'm going to click on the card that I want to work with in my project bin at the bottom and drag it up onto the canvas. So this is the original 3x4 size. So the integrity of these is pretty awesome, even when you go ahead and manipulate the size a bit. So when I'm using the Select tool and I am just grabbing one of these corner handlebars or these corner boxes here and dragging it across the page to fill in the entire canvas there. And that looks pretty great. So I am going to shrink it up just a little bit because I think what I'm going to do is leave a little space on the bottom here for some photos, maybe stamping, maybe some journaling, maybe an embellishment. Not 100% sure what my design is going to be just yet. So I'm going to reposition this just a little bit so that the word art is on kind of the left-hand side. The other thing that I already know is that when I slip this into my album, I'm planning to put the holes down the right-hand side here. So in order for me to see where those holes are going to be punched, or to keep a margin where I don't fill in something there and then punch holes through it accidentally, I'm going to use the guides in this Photoshop Elements workspace. So I'm going to go up to View. I want to create a new guide, and I want it to be about 6.25 inches across the page. So that's a 1/2 inch margin so that I can see where the holes are going to go and I don't accidentally fill it up with something. Now the other thing is that I don't really want it looking like this on a white background. I want the whole page to have this beautiful red background. So I'm going to grab the eyedropper tool, or the color picker tool. It looks like an eyedropper. I always call it that. Its real title is a color picker tool. Click on that guy over in the toolbar, and then come back over to your canvas and pick up the red color that is the background for this card. Now I'm going to get the paint bucket tool, and I'm going to make sure that I have the background layer selected over in the layers panel there. and I am going to go ahead and fill that in. So now my whole page, my whole canvas has got the red background and it's got that awesome brush script word art over there on kind of the left-hand side. Now, I don't know if you can see it very clearly on your screen, but there is just a little bit of a line there from where the original card meets the new background. And I want that to kind of blend in all together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the eraser tool from the toolbar, and I'm going to make it kind of so that it's got like a feathered edge so that it'll blend between the two different surfaces nicely. And I'm going to get a pretty big brush size. I'm going to try like 100 pixels per inch there. Now I'm going to go back up to the layer that has my journaling card on it. Click on that one because that's the part that I'm going to be erasing. And I'm just going to drag, first of all, it's telling me that I need to simplify it. And yes, I'm going to do that. That's okay. I'm just going to drag this across the line that I can see on my screen around all of the edges. And that'll just help blend the original card design in with my new background. So this is ready to go. This is ready to be printed. When I want to print these, I am printing them usually on matte photo paper. My favorite one to work with is the Staples brand. I think the equivalent in the United States would be through Office Max. I think they're like sister companies. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new canvas one more time because then it gives me the flexibility to position this where I want it to be when I print it on the page. So I'm making one that's going to be landscape oriented, so it's 11 inches wide and 8.5 inches tall. And I will drag my new design up onto that page and then I can move it. And this way I can actually position some extra 3x4 cards or anything else that I wanted printed on the same page. So I'm trying to not waste paper too much. Okay, so that's idea number one, enlarging those cards, getting some awesome art out of it. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to create a little pocket insert to hold some of my journaling and possibly some of my photos from the story that I want to tell here. So this is a digital paper from the Traveler's Notebook Kit that was released in October, and I want to turn this into a pocket page so that this can fit right into my 6x8 album. There will be holes punched into the left-hand side, but I want to add a pocket on the front. And I want the pocket to have the same design as this background on this big autumn card. So I'm going to first of all create a new canvas again, and I want it to be 11 inches wide and 8.5 inches tall at 300 pixels per inch on a white background. Everything looks great there. That's what I'm going to use. Again, I'm going to grab the select tool from my toolbar and I'm just going to click and drag that paper right up onto my canvas. Now it is sizing it just a little bit big, so I'm going to grab the handlebar again and resize it, and you can kind of see it's showing me what the measurement is when I do that. It's showing me how wide and how tall the new canvas is. So that is about the size I want it to be. I want it to be about 8.25 inches tall because that's the height of the page protectors that I'm working with in my album. Now, in order to make the pocket here, I need to kind of duplicate this layer, this portion of it. So I'm going to grab my tool shape, the rectangle tool over here on the toolbar. If you go down to the bottom of this shape tool, if you don't see a rectangle in your toolbar right now, it could be because one of these other shapes is showing, and that's totally okay. You're just going to find the shape tool, you're going to pick the shape that you want, and in this case, I want to pick the rectangle tool. I'm going to make a rectangle about the size of the pocket that I want to appear on my page here. So we'll make it just, it's probably spread over just a little bit wider than the margins. I might shorten it up just a touch. So that's the size that I want the pocket to be on the front of this card, but I want it to have the background card pattern. So I'm going to take this rectangle tool, or shape rather, I'm going to move it over onto my canvas. Now I want to grab this card and I want to duplicate it. So on the layers panel on the right hand side, I'm going to right click on the layer that I want selected there, the autumn card. I am going to say to duplicate this layer. And it has done that. So now I have two copies of that autumn card. I'm just going to grab the top one and I'm going to move it over top of that rectangle shape that I've just created there. Now I need to reposition the order of these layers here. So I want this card to be above the rectangle. I'm going to click it and drag it so that the layers are in the right order. Now I want this card, I don't need the whole thing. You could print it if you wanted it that way, just print 2 copies of it and make the pocket that way. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to mask this original card into the rectangle shape. So on the layers panel on the right hand side, I'm going to hold down the Alt key on my keyboard. I am using a PC. I'm not entirely sure what the command would be on a Mac. I can try to Google it for you. But you're going to hold it so that you see this little arrow pointing down between these 2 layers. This only shows up when you're hovering your cursor above that line where those 2 layers meet in the layers panel. So you hold down the Alt key and you'll see the arrow pop up. And then I'm going to just click on my mouse and that will make it, this is called masking. So I've now masked this autumn card into the rectangular shape. And now I can send this whole page to the printer and I'll have this pocket, which I can either use some adhesive for, or I can use some stitching on the outside edges and then punch holes onto the left side. And this is going to make a really cool little addition to my album. The last thing I want to show you is something that I'm pretty excited about. When I saw this pattern on here, I immediately thought this would make a really cool cut file. I liked the idea of having these lacy kind of leaves cut out of white cardstock that I could layer right on top of a photo or use it as like a page divider in my album. So I am starting off with this card and I want to show you how I am turning this into a cut file just to get the outlines of these leaves here. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab a tool from the toolbar. It's the Magic Wand tool. Click on that guy, and if the Magic Wand tool is selected. The other things that are in there are the Quick Selection tool, the Selection Brush tool, but the Magic Wand tool is the one that we want to use here. I have the tolerance set to 42. Now the tolerance is how much of the color distinction, I guess, that it's going to pick up. So I'm going to try starting at 42. I might need to make some adjustments. We'll see how this goes. But basically what I'm going to do, first of all, I'm going to increase the size on here so we can see it a little bit better. I'm going to take this Magic Wand tool and I'm going to click on one of the leaf shapes that are on my page here on the paper. That looks pretty good. I think it didn't really get anything more than I wanted it to, but you can see that it didn't quite capture everything either. So I want to still add in the bottom selection of these leaves here. Just grab them, scoop them up. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key on my keyboard and click again. And that should pick up another selection. And then one more selection. I'm going to hold down the Shift key and click again. And that should get the last one in there. There's still a couple of pieces missing, but I know that ultimately when I resize this, it's not going to take up the entire canvas. Now, the reason that it's not picking up everything at the same time here, even though it's all the same color, this is important to consider because I'm turning this into a cut file. It means that some of these leaves are not completely connected. So when I go to cut them as a cut file, some of them might come apart. So that's something that I need to be mindful of and that I will show you a workaround so that hopefully that does not happen to me. Now I'm going to hold down, I want to turn this selection now into a new layer so that all I have is a layer with these lacy leaves. On my keyboard, I'm holding down the Control key and I'm pressing the letter J. And now, if you look in the Layers panel over on the right, it has created a layer with these lacy leaves. Now, I want to see how this is going to look as an overlay, so I'm going to create a new canvas again, and I want to make it the same size as the page protector, so I'm making it 6.75 inches wide and 8.25 inches tall, and I'm just going to make it white. And then I'm going to go back and grab my selected area. So I'm getting the layer here that has these lacy leaves on it. I'm going to grab it and drag it down onto my new canvas. So there is the new layer with just those lacy leaves. Now I want this to be, I'm thinking that I'm going to make this like the full size of the page protector. So I'm going to resize it. I'm going to stretch it out from the corners. When you do it from the corners, it just helps make sure that you don't distort the image because it's going to get the height and weight moving, or height and weight, been thinking about work too much. The length and the width will change at the same time when you just pull it from the layers there. It'll keep everything in proportion. If you grab one of these side handlebars here, you can adjust just the width or just the height, but we want the image to stay kind of true to what its original intention was. So I went ahead and just grabbed the corners there. Best way to make sure that your image doesn't get distorted. So that looks pretty good. I like how that looks there. Now, I mentioned before that I was a little bit worried. Like, here's one example. I think this is probably a good illustration here. This leaf isn't actually touching any other leaves on this page right now. And what that means is that when I make this into a cut file, it will come apart. Like, this leaf won't actually be connected to the rest of the pattern that's up here. So I am going to do something to kind of make it those connections, just to make the lines just a little bit wider so that they should connect without a problem. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the layer style. So up in the top, I'm picking the word layer, I'm grabbing the layer style, I'm going to look at the layer settings. And one of the options here is a stroke, which means like applying an outside edge, which will just widen those lines a little bit and help the leaves connect to each other. You can play with the size of how wide you want this outline to be. I'm going to make it like a 5, and that should pretty much guarantee that these leaves are all connected there. And say OK. The other thing I'm going to do is that right now it's blue, which is lovely, but because I'm going to transfer this over as a file to my silhouette and I'm going to do a trace and cut, I want to make sure that it picks everything up at the same time. So I want the outline to be the same color as the pattern that's on the inside. So I am going to fill this layer. I'm going to say Edit, Fill this layer, and I want the whole thing to be black. There we go. So that should make, you can see now that these leaves are connected where there was a little bit of a gap before. It's also connected at this point here. It's not connected here yet, but I think the way that I'm planning to stick this into my album, that won't be a problem. So that looks good. So in order to get this into a cut file for my silhouette, that's what I have at home, I am going to save this as a PNG. So let me go back to my folder here that I want to save it as, and I'm going to make it a PNG. You can see I've played with this a little bit already here, and I'm just going to call it a leaf cut file and save it. Okay. Okay, so let me show you then what I do in my Silhouette software to be able to cut it out. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. Okay, so I am in my Silhouette Studio, and I'm going to open up that file that we just saved here. There it is, and I'm just going to drag it over a little bit, and I want to trace and cut this. So I'm going to go over to the icon on here that looks like a little butterfly with an outline on it. It says open the trace panel. Click on that guy. I want to select the trace area. So I am going to make a big rectangle over top of the entire leaf pattern. And that's all you have to do. You're going to do that, and then you're going to push the trace button, and it is now traced so that this will now cut out on my silhouette. The next thing I would do is click send and go ahead and adjust the settings for whatever type of material it is that you're cutting onto, and send it away.
I am back and I've got my digital elements all prepared here. So here's how that leaf die cut turned out. Looks pretty great. I had been thinking about this some more, and I think that I am going to add some colorful vellum in behind some of these as a silhouette. My plan is to layer this die cut over this enlarged photo. So it looks good the way that it is. I do like having that see-through effect, but I think I want to add just a little bit more, some more pops of color, because this is a really fun and colorful kit, and I want to be able to translate that into this entire spread. I also have my pocket page kind of ready to be prepped here, where I've got the background as well as the pocket that I'm going to add onto the front of there. And then I've got that full page. It's Fall Y'all 6x8 that is going to go into my album as well. So next step for me is just to start assembling it all. Here we go.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. You're like, wait a minute, didn't we already see this part? Didn't she already use the leaf die cut? And yes, I did. So I had kind of given this some thought overnight, and I loved the way that the colorful leaves, the colorful vellum looked in the original die cut, but at the same time, it just didn't get the calm look that I was hoping for. So I decided to give this another shot, and I recut two of the leaf die cut pieces, and instead of colorful vellum, this time I went ahead and just used clear vellum. That just has that little bit of frostiness, but certainly a lot of transparency. My approach was a little bit different this time. So rather than having to individually cut out the pieces just from colored blocks that I had traced based on the template of the leaf die cut there, I printed it onto vellum from my printer, and that already gave me the shape. So I could just go ahead and cut them out. The other thing I did differently this time around, instead of using that glue roller adhesive, which was really, honestly, very messy, not a great strategy the first go around, I just used some spray adhesive. So I laid down the leaf die cut into a cardboard box, gave it a good spray with some glue, and then that made it tacky enough to stick the vellum leaves onto. And I repeated the same thing with the second die cut piece and sandwiched the vellum in between the two. And then I went ahead and added one of those adhesive strips on the edge again from Citrus Twist Kits to be able to pop this into my album. And I think I'm much happier with the way that it looked the second time around. I'm not tossing my colorful one. I definitely am still going to figure out something to do with that because I still think it looks pretty cool. But for the purpose of my album, I decided to go with the white and clear one.
Okay, I'm at a spot now where I think I'm pretty happy with how everything has been put together. I'm not going to try to add any more at this point, but here we'll just do a quick flip through of my completed spreads. So I knew going into this project that I wanted to include all of my journaling on an insert, which is just tucked inside the pocket there. And that made it so that I could spend the rest of the space that I had to work with here just including all of my favorite pictures and playing a little bit with some of the embellishments. So here I've started off the page with just some plain unembellished 4 pockets full of colorful photos from the day, and then I've got my custom made pocket here from the digital products. I've got some extra Instax pictures in here, ones that didn't make it into the spread in another spot, so it's just a nice holding place for them to keep them all together. And then flipping that over, I've got one of the traveler's notebook papers again, along with some stamps and just one of the, a little piece of ephemera from our day from the farm that we were at. I just saved the label off of the cider donuts that we bought at the end of the day. A couple more fun photos of our activities for the day. And more photos. And then this is where my leaf insert die cut piece came in. I had planned to use the colorful version of it, but in the end I decided that it was when I laid the colorful version on top of the photo underneath, it kind of lost some of the detail and I was missing that, so I did it again in white, and second time around worked out so much better. I totally learned from my mistakes the first time around. Second time around I sprayed the back of one of the die cut pieces with some spray adhesive and then laid my vellum shapes on top of that and sandwiched it with another die cut that also had been sprayed with the spray adhesive, and that worked really well to keep things clean, keep it together. Turned out great. And then in order to get this into my album, these are adhesive insert strips from Citrus Twist kits. Buy them in a pack. They look like this so that they're clear, just with like a removable strip there to cover the adhesive until you're ready to use them. I used 2 of those, so I put one on the front and one on the back, and these are great for being able to add in loose pieces of ephemera to your album without having to punch holes in it. Backside I added another Instax photo and had fun with some stamping, and then I really love this picture, and usually when I love big photos like this I have a hard time figuring out how I want to embellish them, because most of the time if it's a picture I love I don't really want to do anything to it. I like it just the way it is. So I kept things super simple here. I used one of the 3x4 cards and cut out the acorn that was there, added a little gold embossed stamping that just says please let it stay fall forever, which was the perfect sentiment to go along with it, and then a little pink die cut leaf tucked underneath that kind of complements the pink in my daughter's jacket. I also used one of the label stickers. This was from the Traveler's Notebook kit, and punched a hole in the end of it just to turn it into a tag and tied it around the top of the acorn there. So keeping things simple. And then this is my full photo that spans the 2 pages there. In between the pictures, I just added an Instax insert. These page protectors are also a new release from Citrus Twist Kits, and I just like the size variation. Tucked in a bunch of Instax photos, and then I made like a little shaker pocket here with some of the leaf stickers from the October kit. Paper Person Shop kit. More photos on the back there. Another Instax with some die cuts and stamping just to say on a hike. And then last page here is that enlarged 3x4 card to make a full 6x8 page. Oh, I lost a leaf. Lost a leaf. I'll have to secure that down a little bit better. So with a couple of the die cut and sticker leaves, and then I just tucked a tag in behind there with just a little note that says I'm always a sucker for pictures of pumpkins behind my Instax pic. And that wraps up the documentation for this spread.